Yes, welcome once again, everybody. Cannabis News with Joe Klare. It is August 3rd, 2018. Make sure you check us out at marijuanatimes.org. Of course, all this is presented by the Marijuana Times. Click that video tab if you want to see all of the episodes of Cannabis News. Almost 200 episodes. Thank you to everyone out there who's been watching and liking and sharing and commenting and all that stuff. Find us at marijuanatimes.org, YouTube, Vimeo, Apple Podcasts. Search Marijuana Times and all those. Find our social media networks and a bunch of great articles at marijuanatimes.org as well. Today we're talking about possible recreational legalization in Pennsylvania. Also, stuff going on in Florida. The director of the state's Office of Medical Marijuana Use has resigned. Talked a lot about Florida. You've heard his name probably quite a bit if you're a regular listener or watcher of the show. We'll talk about that. Also, a new poll from Harris. A new Harris poll on marijuana legalization. We're talking about all that coming up. But first, of course, Cannabis News brought to you by Nature Side. Side is spelled C-I-D-E. Check out the organic, all-natural pesticides at nature-side.com. They are a proud sponsor of Cannabis News. Grow safe and poison-free. Be regulatory compliant in terms of pesticide use in the state that you are growing in. You can do all of that by getting the organic, all-natural pesticides from Nature Side, nature-side.com. Proud sponsor of Cannabis News. Thank you to them. Now, it's next. Look, graphic and audio snafu at the same time. That's a lot. I rarely do that, but I pulled it off this time from marijuanatimes.org. Jason Sander, Pennsylvania State Representative, to introduce a recreational cannabis bill. Jake Wheatley plans to introduce a bill that would not only allow adult use recreational cannabis, but in addition would also expunge records of those convicted of minor marijuana crimes. According to a recent report from Pittsburgh City Paper, sales of medical cannabis in the state began back in February of this year. Currently, 27 licenses have been issued to companies who have opened or seek to open dispensaries in Pennsylvania. Most of these operate or will operate in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, but if recreational is legalized, maybe that'll spread out to the more rural areas of the state. Quote, states from coast to coast have embraced legalization, and those states are reaping the economic and criminal justice benefits. It is time Pennsylvania joins with those states and leaving behind the ugly stigma of marijuana. That's what Representative Jake Wheatley had to say. He's a Democrat from Hill District, Pennsylvania. Interesting, as Jason mentions in the article, medical marijuana sales have begun. They have started. We recently talked about flower is going to be sold in some dispensaries in Pennsylvania. This is the logical next step is to try for recreational marijuana, at least get the ball rolling, at least get the conversation started in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is one of those states where you can't bring it. If you're voters, you can't get a petition to get a bunch of signatures to get it on the ballot. It has to go through the legislature. Hopefully that'll happen in Pennsylvania as a more of a northeastern state, more of a progressive state politically. We'll see if that translates into recreational marijuana legalization sometime in the next couple years. As mentioned, stuff going on in Florida. State Medical Marijuana Director Christian Bax has resigned. If you're a regular listener, if you follow some of our Florida stories on here when it comes to medical marijuana, you've heard the name Christian Bax. He's, as they put it in this story, TampaBay.com, Christian Bax, the embattled director of the state's Office of Medical Marijuana Use. He's resigning after a 3-year stint marked by rulemaking delays, rocky litigation, and continued criticism over patients' problems accessing the drug. Since medical cannabis was broadly legalized more than a year ago, actually the vote for Amendment 2 in Florida was in November of 2016, so we're coming up on 2 years since the actual vote. It's been a rocky road, to say the least. In his resignation letter, Bax wrote that he intends to step down no later than August 10th. He did not provide a reason for his departure or its timing. Courtney Coppola, the office's deputy director, will take over as interim director, said Devin Galletta, spokesman for the Department of Health. One obviously can conjecture about why Christian Bax is leaving his post. Maybe he's just tired of being embattled. I don't know. Like I said, if you follow these stories about Florida medical marijuana on the show in the last several months, there's a lot going on. Bax was appointed in 2015 to lead what was then known as the Office of Compassionate Use. Though his job application documented only 15 months of experience consulting on medical marijuana issues, and his job was not publicly advertised, according to Politico Florida. What that means, I guess it means that somebody picked him. I don't know. From an outsider's perspective, I will say that it seems like, why is that graphic up there? That's 2 now. That's 2 graphic snafus in the show. That's why you watch. You want to see what's going on. This is recorded, but I record it live. Warts and all. Christian Bax. From an outsider's perspective, much like me during this episode, it seems like Christian Bax does not know what he's doing. He's in over his head. He's not aware of how to get these things done in a timely fashion. He's probably overwhelmed at this point. Again, from an outsider's perspective, I don't know what people within a department, within the office, would say if they would share that belief. But just from someone who follows this story and has been following this story for the last several months and all the different things that they've gone through, some of them which they come up in this, talk about in this article we've talked about on the show. Again, all these articles, as I always say, are linked in the description of the video. It just seems like someone who's not up to the job that he was doing. Like I said, whether that's the case, I don't know. It's definitely an outsider's perspective type of thing. A lot of stuff going on. Again, like I said, we follow a lot of these stories here on the show. We mentioned a couple of them. Like lawmakers were particularly irked by delays in the department's slow rulemaking progress, which delayed the rollout of parts of the 2017 law. During the legislative session earlier this year, a joint legislative committee took the office, and Bax in particular, to task for not responding for months to letters of concerning 2 months of letters concerning the agency's rules. I think it was something like 4 months. They sent a bunch of letters, and the department, this legislative committee, sent these letters and wanting to know what was going on, and Christian Bax and his department just decided, no, we're not gonna respond to that. We're not gonna acknowledge that these people who have oversight over what we're doing are writing us letters. I don't know. Maybe they should have sent emails. Maybe they should have made phone calls. I don't know. Maybe they didn't get the letters. Maybe there's problems with the mail. I don't know. Lawmakers cited those delays when they eventually voted to hold back about $2 million in salaries and benefits from the department officials until rules were implemented. Another update on that, it was just a couple weeks ago on this show, we reported that they did budget about $13 million for the department to really ramp up what they're doing. I don't know. It just, and I've said this before, and it seems like I sound like a broken record. I don't know, but regulation, that's what their job is. That it seems like they'd be able to do that. The people would be found for these jobs that would be able to do that. It's a very specific thing. You create regulations and then you implement them. It's a 2-step process that a lot of these states just don't seem to get. And again, it's not like medical marijuana is brand new. There's a lot of states that have provided different roadmaps to how to do it. There's problems in Florida. There's problems in Ohio. There's problems in Arkansas. There are a lot of problems in Oklahoma. I don't know. I don't get it. Again, and I'm an outsider, but I have to think if I was in these jobs, I could do a little bit better. You get together, you decide on some regulations, maybe run it by some people, check some other states, see what they've done, what worked, what didn't work. Bam, you put it together, you get it approved by whoever needs to approve it. If they don't approve it, you go back and change some stuff. If they do approve it, you move forward with implementation. You get it done. These people are sick. Medical marijuana implies sick people who need medicine. And what these people are doing, I don't know. I just don't know. They're not taking care of sick people. Delays. You can't smoke a delay and make your stomach feel better and allow you to eat or get some sleep or reduce your anxiety. You can't vaporize delays. You can't eat edible delays. You get my point. It's a theme. This last story is from healthday.com. A new Harris poll. Americans strongly support medical marijuana, and a majority also believe pot should be legal for recreational purposes, according to a new Health Day Harris poll. 85% of adults believe marijuana should be legalized for medical use. More than half or 57% support legalization of recreational marijuana, aka adult use marijuana. Many also believe there's a role for medical marijuana in easing America's ongoing opioid and addiction crisis. Voters believe that ending America's failed marijuana prohibition laws is a common sense issue, not a partisan one. That's according to Paul Armentano, deputy director of the reform advocacy group Normal. 4 out of 5 said medical marijuana should be regulated like other medicines. You go a little bit further down. The poll included more than 2,000 U.S. adults and was conducted in mid-July. It was conducted online. Deanna Percassi, managing director of Harris Poll's public relations research practice, said opposition to marijuana, whether for medical or recreational use, comes down to fear of it getting into the wrong hands. If you break it down demographically, obviously, as always, younger people are more for it, to a tune of like 67%, age 18 to 34. But if you go to people age 65 and older, only 38% support recreational marijuana. Now, one more interesting part of this story, excuse me, if you go down and find this Fred Munch, president and CEO of the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids, he said there haven't been many clinical trials comparing medical marijuana to other pain relief methods. He also says there's, quote, no evidence to support the idea that medical marijuana could help curb the opioid epidemic. Now, that's an out-and-out lie. That's an out-and-out falsehood. There are several studies that have shown that opioid-related deaths have gone down in states that have robust medical marijuana programs, namely dispensaries. Dosage for opioids have gone down in those states. So there is evidence. To say there's no evidence to support that is, like I said, is an out-and-out lie. He went on to say, when you look at recent reviews of the evidence of medical marijuana, it's not that great. What's not that great about it? What parts specifically are not that great? Because I could sit here for the next 20 minutes and point out study after study after study and link them all. This shows it's very great. I know that's kind of a Trump phrase. It's very great. People like this just throw out words, and they hope that even though you can go on the internet and look, that the noise of everything that's going on in your life and social media and all that will just take their word for it. That all the reviews of medical marijuana, they're in, and there's not that good. It's not that good. I do this for a living. I read these stories every day. It is good. There's a lot of great news about medical marijuana every day, every week, every month, all the time. I talk almost 200 episodes of this show. How many dozens and dozens and scores and maybe even hundreds of stories at this point about medical marijuana have we done? He went on to say, let's make sure we're opening the conversation up to really understand what all of the alternatives are, rather than making a dichotomous argument of opioids versus marijuana. Well, that's what we've done. The alternatives are opioids. The alternatives to the opioids are marijuana. You can go back to the opioids, but I don't think it's going that well. Now, if you want to say the reviews are not great, tens of thousands of deaths, that's not great. I think we all can agree that becomes the realm of not great. 0 deaths, millions of people helped every day with medical marijuana. Why? That sounds pretty good. I think that is great. But again, as you know, I'm not going to do a semantics argument with someone from an irrelevant agency or group or partnership for drug-free kids. I don't even know what that is. As if there's people out there saying, yes, kids need drugs. They're opposing kids being on drugs. We all oppose that. It's like saying, it's like being the partnership for anti-slavery. It's like saying you're against slavery. Yes, we're all against slavery. There's no one out there saying, yeah, you know what, we need slaves. There's no one saying that. There's no one saying, boy, there's just not enough kids on drugs. If only there were more kids on drugs, all of this would be taken care of. No one is saying that. It's a dumb group. Why? They're fighting people who don't exist. They're fighting that block of people that just, oh, God, the kids, they have to have the drugs. We got to get the drugs to the kids. How can we get the drugs to the kids? It's absolutely ridiculous. And then you say ridiculous things when you have a ridiculous job, and you are a ridiculous person. Like, what's this guy's name again? I already forgot. Fred Munch. Munch. M-U-E-N-C-H. I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Again, irrelevant. What's not irrelevant is this show. End of another week. Go have a great weekend. We'll see you here next week on Cannabis News. Thank you to NatureSide, nature-side.com, and the organic, all-natural pesticides. They are a great sponsor of the show. Like, share, comment. Go to marijuanatimes.org, click that video tab, find the videos, check them out, help us spread the truth about cannabis. And we'll see you next time on Cannabis News.